Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store Forged Irish Stout. Delighted to be joined by Steele City Interactive CEO Ash Habib. Ash, I appreciate you having us down here. It's an incredible workspace and centre for what is an unbelievable game that's just come out. I want you to take us back to the very beginning though, on how this came about. I remember when I was starting in this boxing scene, this game was just sort of just getting announced and we were having updates left, right and centre on the fighters that were coming out. Take us back to the very beginning, how this came about.
Well, first of all, appreciate you saying that, Matt. Great to have you here. I think the journey from when we started to where we've got to now has been a bit of a roller coaster. And look, it just kind of came about from our passion for boxing and the sport. Started off incredibly small with my brothers, it was literally a passion project, and we just thought to see where we could take it, through some amazing partnerships we've made along the way in the boxing industry, in the gaming industry, we've got to a point where we've got Undisputed.
Absolutely. I mean, you started off fairly small, but you've now grown to a place like this where I believe you've got over 70 people here working and constantly dealing with all the changes. And look, with these type of games, things, updates change daily. How proud are you, just first of all, to sort of see where you've come from and to see where it's at now, because it's a big workspace and you must be super proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all are as a team, to get to where we are right now. Not coming from the games industry, and seeing the challenges that exist currently, even in the games industry right now, it's a pretty tough environment for a lot of developers. So I think just for us to have this as an opportunity for people to come and work, at a very basic level, that for me as a CEO feels good to be able to do. I think just combining the world of boxing with gaming is just another thing that's great.
Well, the world of boxing has been crying out for a boxing game for over a decade. So I think when this started first making noise, everyone was like, finally, because everything else was like, when are we going to see the next this, the next that? Then along came you guys and, started saying, look, this is what we're doing. These are the fighters. And we started seeing a growth week on week of these are the fighters that we're going to be working with. These are the ones who are going to be in the game. What sort of the stumbling blocks did you have at the start? Because not everything's a smooth ride in this. What are the hurdles you had to sort of get over to get some of this done? Because I can't imagine it's been easy.
How long have you got, really? I'll probably be here all day, to be honest, going through all of that. But
the ones that come to mind where you think, that was a real sticking point. Yeah. But look, we're here now and we got over it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's been a few, certainly from the gaming side, where, again, this starting out as a passion project and, some pretty big ambitions in terms of what we wanted to achieve. But I think first and foremost, what I didn't really anticipate was, I guess, the amount of baggage that comes with making a boxing game, because it generally feels like we've been carrying almost 13 years worth of baggage because there hasn't been a boxing game in that time. So as soon as we announce, immediately it's like, we need this to come out right now. Like, we've been waiting a long time. And we put ourselves in that boat, right? Because we're gamers as well, we're boxing fans. So we understand, like, we've been waiting ourselves for a boxing game. So I think expectations has been a challenge in terms of, like, not everybody understands game development, how long games typically take, the budget that we've got to make, this game as well. So I think that's been a challenge. And then you've got the main reason why boxing games haven't been made is when you then have to deal with all the agents, the managers, the fighters. Like, you want to make
image rights and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, if you want to make a basketball game, you go to the NBA. If you want to make an ice hockey game, you go to the NHL and so on. With boxing, like, you have to go to every single person individually, and then try and yourself. Boxing's probably quite political, and it's there's factions, and generally people don't seem to get on with each other. So bringing everyone together into this has probably been the biggest challenge.
With the challenges come the success, and you sort of aligned yourself in this city of Sheffield, which is steeped in history, steeped in boxing history. You go back as far as, obviously, Harold Bomber Graham, Johnny Nelson, who I believe will be joining us in a couple of hours, Prince Nassim Hamed, and the likes of Kell Brook, Ryan Rhodes, who I know is a big name in this city, who's helped a lot at the start. How sort of pleased you at that relationship, establishing that and making Sheffield home for this game and where it sort of started from?
Yeah, I mean, look, coming from Sheffield myself, it's we've had a really rich heritage, as you've said, with some of the names there. And Ryan was the first guy, literally, that got involved into the game from a boxing standpoint. We created the concept. Ryan come to my house and kind of showed him what we were doing, and yeah, he joined instantly at that point. And this is the support that we've had from people like Johnny and Ryan and so on. It's been really great to put people that we followed growing up and just as fans to be able to put them in the game, kind of cement their legacy, and for them as well to be able for us to give something back to those guys.
This game, the actual game itself, I mean, I'm sure everyone's familiar with it now. I know every boxing fan is, and even casual boxing fan. They see the graphics, they see the ideas with the story mode, the development of fighters' movements. I'm just looking now because it's a little bit on the screen in the background. Talk to me about some of these like innovative ideas and stuff that have come about in terms of like fighter movements. Like we see over the years, like you get a generic movement, but these have all sort of been surrounded by like the individual. So you've got that certain feel, that individuality feel for each of them.
I think the key thing for us at the start in the studio was innovation. Like we felt we're not a huge studio, we haven't got a track record of building amazing games. So for us to make any kind of splash or even create something which I would go and buy, I just felt like we had to really try something new. I didn't want to make a game that had either been done before or just felt the same as the previous games. So I think when it comes down to like movement, how the fighters look, how the fighters, move around the ring, that was really important for me to capture. Like at the start, I didn't have the huge names that we've got now. I didn't have the visuals or the technology that we've got now. So in the very early days of development, we made a very clear distinction to say, right, we've got to try 30 times harder to really make this game stand out. So for me, it was all about gameplay rather than visuals and licenses even. I think when we got to a point where we thought we had something unique and a little bit special, where I'd like to think the combat in Undisputed is different from pretty much any other combat game out there in terms of how the movement is quite realistic when you're shifting weight, going back and forth. Yeah, that's something that I think we just had to come up with really to allow the next phase to come in. So it allowed us to then take the visuals to the next level when it came to scanning the fighters, which then opened up the doors to licensed boxers, because a boxer like Tyson Fury isn't going to put his name, or Muhammad Ali, the license for that. They're not going to put the name to something which, from a quality perspective, is inferior or it just tarnishes the reputation. So for me, it was all about doing justice to the sport and the game, and then we build on top of that.
100%, and it's amazing to see how many sort of fighters, when you look at the list of Hall of Famers that you've managed to put into this game. It really is incredible. Look, a question you might not be able to answer, but I've got to ask you because fans will ask what's going on, why have you not asked this, but can you give us any update on what the plans are moving forward for this to go onto consoles, obviously Xbox users, PlayStation users? I know there was talks of it before and talks of it heading in that direction. Is there an update to this?
So we're making great progress. It is coming out on Xbox Series S and X and PlayStation 5. We're happy with development of both of those consoles. I know people have been waiting a long time, right? I mean, like pretty much everything that we put out, the comment is always like, when is it on Xbox?
It's got to be right though, hasn't it, before it goes?
It has, absolutely. And, we do get one shot at this. This isn't a project that I've rushed. Like, we could have decided to launch, a while ago. But we care about the game, we care about the sport. And, this is a long-term franchise, right? So we're not going to just, rush out. But we are making really good progress. And, there'll be some news coming soon pretty much in that space.
Just in terms of the PC gameplay, as it currently stands, is that going to stay as is, or is that just going to continue to sort of develop over time? How's that going to work?
So we are developing it past what's out at the moment. So the game that's already released on Steam right now on PC, it is in early access, and that means it's in a state where it's not finished. So we take on board the feedback we're getting from players and fans, and we're making those changes to the game like as we speak now. So, by the time the game is out on PlayStation and Xbox, it will have further changes to what players are experiencing now. So there's a number of things that we've already changed, which has improved the game even further. So yeah, we're not done with Undisputed as far as the gameplay goes. There's a few exciting things that we've improved upon. So yeah, like that's continually going to happen. Like when we've launched, even past launch, we're going to continually improve the game.
When you see this game, you often see out in the previous years, other companies, they'll have version 1, version 2, bring them out as separate games. You look at even in the combat games like the Warzone, you can sort of, there's the free ones like we play, Resurgence, and they just keep updating it. Do you see this as one where, look, this is out, we will adjust and adapt. As boxing moves on, we will just adjust this one game and keep updating? Do you see Undisputed 2? How is the vision moving forward?
I think in terms of generally sports titles, as you've said, there's iterations, and this is something that we forget sometimes. Where with Undisputed, like this is the first game, and essentially this is our first stab at making a boxing game, and for us it will always be about improving what we've got in terms of like how those updates will come and the frequency of them, and sequels. It's not something that we've made a clear decision on yet, other than we're just entirely focused on making the best game that we can. But yeah, I think it's really important that this is the first iteration. I mean, there's other sports titles, whether you're talking football, basketball, whatever, where every year, they've had 10, 15, 20 goals at making a better game, and this is our very first. Yeah. So I think for me, it's just about putting that into context about what we're delivering and what it holds for the Undisputed franchise.
Well, in terms of the name, it couldn't be more appropriate in terms of what we've got coming up. We'll just touch on that a little bit. I mean, I think we've seen more Undisputed fights and what we're going to see in our lifetime the past 12 to 18 months coming ahead. I mean, you've got Inoue selling out stadiums in Japan. Personally, I think one of the best fights in boxing in terms of better be Evan Bivol. And the big one, the heavyweight, all the marbles, Tyson Fury, Oleksandr Usyk. How excited are you to sort of be a part of that, and we can almost play these these fights out on this console? We've not been able to do that for, like you said, over 10 years. And what do you make of the fights? Let me ask you on your opinion on that. Let's start with Fury Usyk.
Listen, I'm looking forward to them all, and like you said, the Undisputed fights now, they seem to be coming thick and fast, whereas before, I mean, like, it's funny because one of the mantras for the game was, like, you can have the fights in the game which you never get to see in real life because of promoters and all the other silly infighting that takes place. But now the fights are happening now, so that's amazing to see. And yeah, going back to the title of Undisputed and what's taking place and what's happening with Riyadh season and what Turki Al-Sheikh is doing, it's amazing, right? I think just the fact that he's finally banged the promoters' heads together and said, you need to sort this out and stop ruining the sport. It's great to see. So, Fury Usyk, I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, Beterbiev and Bivol is another amazing fight.
In terms of the game itself, we're seeing now in real life, you mentioned people working together, and it's took a guy like, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh to bring the likes of an Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren to a top table. Do we see these two feature in the game at all? Do we see the promoters?
Not yet.
Possibility?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, I think the thing with Undisputed and what we've done here is, like, we started bringing the world of boxing together like 3 or 4 years ago, right? Where we've got the WBC, the WBO, the IBF, the Ring Magazine, essentially all working together to be part of the game. And then, fighters from Top Rank, Matchroom, Queensbury, all kind of coming together. But listen, it's not been easy. I mean, I can go into a few things without naming names, which is going to probably cause a few issues if I do. But like, there's been people who've been talking about making a boxing game in the past, and like when we started doing this, there were promoters that were actively stopping their fighters from joining the game, where they were like, no, you're not gonna go into this game. We want to do our own thing. Yeah. So again, not coming from the boxing industry or even the gaming industry, it wasn't probably so much of an eye opener, because you always hear about these kind of things taking place, certainly from the boxing space. But when I heard that promoters were actually stopping their fighters from trying to be involved in the game, I was like, you do that with boxing, but leave gaming alone at least. But anyway, we've kind of got over those stumbling blocks. But it just goes to show, like, a lot of fans don't get to see these kind of things that happen in the background, right? Yeah. They just see, okay, make a game, easy. It'll only take a couple of years. And generally, when you are making the game, you only have development challenges to come across, right? Yeah. Making the game look good, play well, bugs, fixing all that kind of stuff. What you don't have is all the egos from licensing people to be in the game. And then when on top of that, you've got promoters trying to actively stop fighters from being, and it's a difficult one.
But when you talk about games improving, we look at, even if you go into the football industry, I mean, when you look at FIFA's first game and where they're at now, to say you're doing this at such a high level for the first run around, that must be one of the most pleasing factors. And the fact that in certain circles we can't get all the WBC and everyone's organisations together just because of either boxing politics or this, that and the other. You've seemingly managed to sort of tick pretty much all the boxes moving forward. That must give you, such delight that you've managed to do that.
Yeah, honestly, I think talking about the organisations, I think they realise that like, my only agenda is to make a game. And I think in boxing, there's very little trust when it comes to those organizations between each other, because there's always an agenda, there's always something happening, right? My only agenda was to, look, we need a game for boxing fans all these other combat sports are getting games on a regular frequency, and boxing's just left in the dark ages, right? So I think it's their credit to, Maurizio Sullivan at the WBC has been a huge support in terms of the backing they've given. Just in terms of even helping, like, when we were getting the blocks from the promoters, the WBC actually helped us to sign some of the fighters as well. So and as a boxing fan, like, you're used to names like BoxRec and CompuBox and even all the brands. So they've all, again, to their credit, they've all kind of come together and helping us basically deliver this.
Well, that's such a good way to sort of, I think, end this off. We've covered a lot of stuff there, from the innovation of the game to the history of this place, how it all started from very small to now such a large workspace, and sort of plans moving forward in terms of console. So good news for everyone, it sounds like. Just be patient, good things come to those who wait. Ash, appreciate your time. Thanks for giving Boxing Social some of your time from, I'm sure, a busy schedule, and hopefully we can catch up soon or out there in Riyadh.
Appreciate your time, Matt. Thank you.